Hello, friends and family, and everybody that's not our friends and family, and all that above. I just kind of botched the takeoff here, but welcome to Cashrules. My name is Nick Foley, and this is the man, the myth, the legend, the one we all know and love, Nick Gilmour. How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I'm doing good. I just sent you off a text a few days ago, and obviously, I'm participating in the Life of Cadence program that you created. So it's pretty cool to actually, put on paper about being intentional about how I feel and how the week's gone, and I find it's a good way to keep me accountable for how I'm feeling. But one thing I remarked is I'm on like a downward slide. And I mentioned to you before we started here, it's like, what, why is it happening? It's kind of concerning to me because, when you really be honest with yourself and you really score yourself like you should, it's concerning that, I've noticed lower and lower and lower scores. And you had given me a couple of cool tips to kind of look towards, but also the time of the year, I think you had mentioned, plays into that as well.
Yeah. So, getting right into it here, Nick. So that's the thing. One of the things that I will say 3 words: "Tis the season." You're not the only one that is experiencing that. So just give Nick a little background, or just to give you all a little background on what Nick was talking about. I started a program called Life of Cadence, where I come up with 10 cornerstone principles that I score personally. Nick is involved; he has several that he scores. And the idea is you come up with a metric, and then you, on a daily basis, you score your day, and then you add it all up at the end of the week, and you give yourself a weekly score. So it turns out you can put it into a percentage or whatever numbers that you want to use with it. So what Nick is referring to is the fact that his score is a little bit lower now, and what I was talking about is this is the season for that to be happening a lot, and people are doing it a lot. That I'm finding, some of the people that I work with are saying, my scores are lower. And I always say to them a couple things. Number one is allow yourself a little grace. And the reason being is because this is the time of year where you're starting, excuse me, where you're starting to hang around with your friends and family a little bit more. You're starting to maybe eat a little bit more than what you normally would. You're starting to drink a little bit more than you normally would, perhaps, if you're a drinker. Whatever the case is, the reality is this is the year, or this is the time of year that people are doing it. So what I would always suggest when it comes to that is to err on the side of allowing yourself some grace for it. So what I always do is I get my one of my associates to print off all the sheets that I need for the year in December, and I'll get it all ready, and I'll still score my days and my weeks and stuff, but I'll also understand, or my week, I'll also understand that the number might be a little lower. And that's okay, because between Christmas and New Year's, there's a lot of family time, things like that, a lot of downtime, and I'm not going to probably have the best score. So what I try to do is I just try to understand that might happen. And number two is this is around it's a busy season for you in the grocery business, but it's around that time of year where there's not a lot outside of, work obligations in some capacity happening, right? Like as far as your real estate portfolio and things like that, you're not going to be closing big deals on December 25th. It's just not happening, right? So allowing yourself some grace that, okay, I'm going to recharge the batteries here, and then I'm going to hit the ground running in January, I think is not a bad thing to do. And what I also do is I still try to do some things that are just trying to keep a good rhythm, a good cadence in my life. And here's what I mean by that is, maybe I don't work out for an hour or 45 minutes, but maybe I just do 20 minutes, or I'll get this rubber band here, and I'll do exercises with my shoulders while I'm in a conversation with somebody, or on the phone, or whatever, on a speakerphone, or what we're doing even now, right? Just trying to give myself a good base so that I don't completely lose, because I'm a big believer in not taking all of December off because of all the things that are happening. I would just say the importance of A, allowing yourself some grace, and B, just working at it, just doing the odd thing here and there, get a sweat in. If you're going to have a great night with your brothers and your family, get up in the morning and get a good run in, or a good sweat in. And why is this pertinent in a podcast that talks about rules and cash? And you said it best, man. I'll ask you, why does this matter?
Well, I mean, we've said it 100 times. If your mind's not right, you can't get your money right. And ultimately, you've got to be firing on all cylinders at all times when you're running a business, whether it's, you know, managing your real estate portfolio, whether it's managing your employees or different people, different things that are happening, paying your bills, anything. If you don't have your mind right, you can't get your money right. Period. Firm believer in that, and that's why I adapted your methods so easily, and I thought it was genius because it's a way to really keep myself accountable. And I guess my question for you would be on that. You had mentioned like if you're not going to do the full 45-minute workout, because my mentality is if I'm not doing it all, if I don't do it, I'm either going to do it or not do it, I guess. So I'm either going the 45 minutes or it's not happening, because I consider a 20-minute workout a loss. Why is it not a loss, or why would you just shorten it?
Well, the first thing you got to do, is change that mentality. So you have a entrepreneurial buyer's mentality. You don't buy. Probably you're just talking about on the beginning of the thing. You just purchased some property. You're not going to buy. You're not going to half-ass buy the property. It's just not happening. Either you bought it or you don't, right? So I'm not surprised to hear you say, I'm not surprised to hear you say if it's not full on, then it's a fail. I get that, but because that's the mentality that you have as a real estate investor, as a business owner, things like that. You're not just going to, I see the cuts of beef behind you. Like, you're not just going to sell someone half of a T-bone. Like it defeats the purpose, right? So I get that. It's entrenched in your being, and it's entrenched in a lot of people's entrepreneurial spirit, where it's like, if it's not all, it's nothing. I get that. But when it comes to your health, when it comes to you're trying to keep things in order, sometimes getting a sweat for 30 minutes is a win, because A, you got to sweat, and B, what it also does is it allows you to continue to keep with that habit, right? Like the other day, I haven't had. I'll give you an example, man. I was telling you, we're doing our bathrooms, and so everybody's in the communal bathroom right now, right? The ensuite is all tore apart. So I'm in the shower. My wife's doing her hair. My kids are running around. It's just a gong show, right? Like, it's just an absolute gong show. Every morning, I take a cold shower. Every morning. I very, very seldom do I miss. I miss sometimes.
How long?
3 minutes every morning. So I'll do my body, everything like that, in normal water. This might be too much information, but who cares? We're here now. So, and then for 7 minutes, I do that. And then in the last 3 minutes of a 10-minute shower, I will turn around and I will put it on as cold as I can get it, and I will shower in the cold. And the other day, it just wasn't going to happen because I had too many things. I was late getting in. I had to start something. I started the shower, then I had to go and get something, whatever, and I was just late getting it. I put on the shower on the cold part for 45 seconds. I literally turned it on, and then I stood there and let it hit my body for 45 seconds. But the reason being in my head was something is better than nothing. And when it comes to your health and your well-being, something is better than nothing. Right? Entrepreneurship, a lot different. You don't half-ass buy a property or half-ass build something. You're either doing it or you're not. And so I think that's the important thing to do, is kind of, change that mentality that you can be a lot of different personalities. You can be a lot of different, versions of yourself for the different things that you're doing in your life. So for me as a dad, right? I am an entrepreneur, and I try to channel my inner Nick Gilmour, right, when I'm making decisions, because you are an avid and a wonderful entrepreneur. So I try to channel my inner Nick Gilmour. When I'm at home, if I've channeled my inner Nick Gilmour while I walk through the threshold of my house, then my kids are going to be like, "Dad, you are intense." So before I do that, I try to channel my Mr. Rogers, right?
Yeah.
Because that's who I try to. When I'm downstairs sweating, I try to channel my inner athlete who just wants to sweat by all means, or my inner Will Smith, or whoever's, does that kind of stuff. Mark Wahlberg, or whoever's the workout guy, whatever you use. I use an athlete that I just try to channel that was a really, wonderful, football player and things like that. And so I look at these things as opportunities to, be the different versions of yourself when you're doing it. So when you're working out and you're doing 30 minutes and 20 minutes or whatever it is, you're doing something which is better than nothing. And B, number two, is you're also continuing the habit. because the last thing I want to do is when we go on break, say, a couple days before Christmas Eve, and then I'm on break until, let's say, January, I don't want to not do anything. Because on January 1st, do you think I want to roll out of bed? Even though I'm not at an age where I don't go out anymore and celebrate, but I'm not going to roll out of bed and just roll right into a workout after not doing it for 3 weeks. I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, this sucks. So I just keep the rhythm, right? Keep the cadence for a few things here and there. And then I just continue to score it, knowing full well that if I'm operating at a 75 to 85% normally throughout the year, then I'm not going to get myself too beat up if I score 63 or 62 because I'm eating more chocolate in the morning than I ever would even dream of every other week. So look at that like that. Channel your inner something, and then focus on doing that. Todd Herman wrote a book called The Alter Ego Effect. Really good book. I would encourage our listeners to read it. And the reason being is you can be many different versions of yourself for many different things that you're doing. Right. Basically, when you put your hat on backward, you could be that badass entrepreneur. Well, when you take that hat off and you're hanging out with your wife, then you're the Casanova, whoever you want to channel, right?
This is so important. Like anybody listening, what you're saying is so, because I struggle with this. Everybody's like, you work too much. You're always on your phone. You're always doing this. You're always doing that. And I'm always asking you these questions like, how do I do this? And you're answering them right now. We've had these discussions before, but if you want to be in business, guys, and you want to have longevity and you really want to be successful in all aspects of life, i.e. money, happiness, marriage, whatever, this is key. Okay. So if you follow what I say and just work all the time, yes, when you're getting started, that's important. But you're going to hit a point where you'll be just completely fucked. Everybody will leave you. Nobody will want to be around you, and you'll be not right up here. So you need to marry these two things and really understand what Nick's talking about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, Nick. And I think that's the thing, man. I think that's, I think it's okay where, I always used to be like, oh, I got to be my authentic self. But I realized as I grow through my life that I don't cringe at the word, but like as I grow through my life is like, no, there's many different versions of me. My daughter, Bryn, does not know her dad the way you know me as a friend and an entrepreneur, partner and things. Like she doesn't know that dad. I would never, ever speak to her the way you speak or the way I speak to you. Mm-hmm. Right. But I'll never speak to you the way I speak to her, Hey, Nick, how was your sleep, buddy? Could you imagine? Like, we wouldn't be friends. So like, I think it's important that you, and the same goes for, working out, the same goes, and that you find that balance, right? I want to be these different versions of myself for the different aspects of my life that are important. And it doesn't mean like I'm two-faced or five-faced or whatever. It just means that I'm, that I'm understanding the importance that I don't ever talk to my mom the way you and I talk on this podcast. Right. And she's an astute businesswoman, but it's just a different relationship when it's your mom and your son. And the same thing with my wife. My wife and I don't talk the same way my brother and I do. Right. Or my friends. So it's important to, to, like you said, to lean into that kind of stuff. And I think that like, if you can't get your life right, the cadence of your life right, then you're never going to get your finances right. And start with that. Starts internal. Anything to add before we move on to question period?
I don't think so, man. I think that's it's starting off on that note is kind of it's a good way to start this podcast off, and let's get her fucking going. Yeah, I think that's a great point, and we'll put it in the show notes at lifeofcadence.com, or you can hook me up or hit me up at nickfoleyspeaks@gmail.com, and we'll make sure that we put that in the show notes, and then you can find out all the ways that you can get involved. And I'm here to help. Just send me a message. DM me on Instagram or DM you, and you can give it to me, and I'll make sure I give them all the stuff that they need and even walk them through it. I'm here to help. Really want to help people focus on their forward focus, which is a new thing that I'm gonna launch in next year, along with all the wonderful things we're doing here at Cashrules. So, without further ado, let's get on to question period. Question period. It's a shout out to the woman, the myth, the legend back there, Ash Bear, who does who makes all this happen.
you're only good at around the people that you have in your life, right, Nick? And you know that, and you and I we have the gift of gab, so we can go up here and just shoot the shit, but we make it, she makes it, she makes this viable and relevant. So shout out to Ash. I know that you're a big fan as well.
Oh, she's awesome. Of course, she keeps me organized. Otherwise, my life would be a complete clusterfuck.
Well, yeah, that's so true, and well said. Maybe we'll get Ash on here one of these days to talk about the gig economy and what she's doing. There's a young woman that was, working at an organization, and she ended up leaving, and now she works for herself and is an amazing speaker, mental health advocate, speaks on mental health, and does all the learning for that, and is great at what she does in the gig economy for you and me and all her other clients, whoever they are. Her most important ones are awesome. Yeah. All right. Let us know. So what is the biggest piece of advice you have to make money work for you? Let me read that again. What is the biggest piece of advice you have to make your money work for you?
I'm a huge believer in, and I think Grant Cardone I don't know that it originated with him, but stay broke to get rich. Okay. And that doesn't mean live on the street and have, no car and all this other stuff, but it means you don't need to be going out like spending and being the big wheel at the fucking restaurant and, going and buying the most expensive shit for your girlfriend or girls you're dating, or have all this stuff you don't really need. So have a place to live, have transportation to get you to your job or to whatever you do to make money, but take that extra money that you would typically blow out in the fucking bar or out doing stupid things that you'd see no return. Take that money and invest it. So buy real estate, put it in stocks, educate yourself first. I'm not just saying throw it into an investment. And don't just fucking say, oh, I've seen a billion fucking things on Instagram about cryptocurrency. Must be great, because newsflash, if you see something on the news in regards to investments like a stock, if you're seeing, oh, it's a good time to buy CN Rail, or it's a good time to buy Bank of Montreal. It's always a good time to buy bank stocks, but it's already priced into the value of that stock. So when people are talking around the water cooler, or if you're seeing something on the internet, people, this is already done. This is already this has happened. 2 months ago was the time to buy, not fucking today. So educate yourself, invest your money, get it to start working for you. And let me remind you, I was making $30,000 a year in doing this. Okay. So I don't give a fuck what you make. It's possible. I've done it. Don't tell me you can't do it. I didn't come from a whole shit ton of money either. So I wasn't given money to do this. So that's why I know it's possible. And that's why I speak to the underdog and speak to the guy who's just coming up or starting in business, because I'm here to watch you win, and I've done it. So follow me.
Yeah, no, I like that mindset. And it's interesting. I'll add two things to that. Number one, too, is changing your mindset around money, right? Going from I can't afford it to how can I afford this? How can I make this work, right? Instead of asking yourself, how can I afford this? And just kind of shifting the nuance of the phrase to how can I make this work, is going to change your mindset for it. And again, asking that question, I think that you read that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I just started reading it again. And I just thought it was really, really interesting of you're never going to get rich by saving your money. You have to make your money work for you. And it's everything that you've done. And that's the thing, Nick. I don't know anything about crypto, things like that, because it's just not where I'm putting my attention. You put a lot of your attention into real estate. You put a lot of your attention in investments. I shouldn't say don't like, but I don't do a lot of investing on the stocks and things on stock investing, because it just doesn't, at first it just didn't move fast enough for me. And I wasn't dealing with enough, capital. I realize that, but where I like to put my investment is in real estate. Right. And, you've got a little bit more of a diversified portfolio, but the point in saying that is you're not going to, have your money work for you by just keeping it in a savings account, right? Lots of times you'll see millionaires, guys that are really, people that are in, they're, billionaires they'll have like, $450,000 and they'll immediately go and put it in go buy a house, a single family or a double family or a duplex, just to have your money working for you. You have it in your account. That's fine. You got a big account. Great. But it's not working for you. Yeah. Good question. What's the next one we got here? With the housing market, the way, go ahead.
I just further to that, like with sitting on a whole shit ton of cash, your cash depreciates as inflation increases. So if you're not doing something to increase the value of your cash, it's depreciating. It's worth less because today I can go and buy a steak for whatever, $10. So, but if I keep that $10, okay, that would have bought me a T-bone steak today. If I keep that $10 and then 1 year down the road, while everything goes up in price, as it always does because of inflation, that $10 can no longer buy that steak. So why would I keep $1 million doing nothing? That is stupid. Cash depreciates. You need to take your money and you need to deploy it in things that makes money and that is increasing in value and that flows with the inflation so that your money appreciates along with the investment itself.
Yeah, no, that's a good analogy. Like you said, like, a $10 steak you could have bought with $10 a year, 2 years ago, you may not be able to buy now. $1,000 isn't worth the same as it is now. 10 years ago, if I had $1,000 in my account and all I had was that, and you're going to get BS interest on that. If you're not making your money work for you, then you're not not going to get yourself to get the most out of the dollars you have. So with the housing market the way it is, how do I know when to keep renting and when to buy?
It's always a good time to buy. Always, 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 always. Always a good time to buy. What other investment? And I always compare like a margin account to real estate investing. Okay. So let's start with investing. I'm going to start with investing in this question, and then we'll move into like personal home ownership or like an owner occupied. But where else can you borrow money at a very low interest rate right now? Okay. So where else can you borrow money and have somebody else pay that loan down for you? So you're borrowing $600,000 to buy an investment property, and somebody else is paying for that loan. All as you do is manage it. That gets paid to zero, but you never paid any of it. So even if you overpaid for that asset by 25%, let's just say that you overpaid and the market fucking takes a shit and everything goes down 25%. Let's just say that. Well, somebody else paid it off anyway, so who the fuck cares? Unless you're Johnny buy and flip and you make a couple hundred here and I made 50 on that and I made 100 on that. Well, that's not me. And guys do well with that and good for them. But if you really want to make your money work, you got to understand the money, understand what it does, and drive ahead.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. So, people are saying that when you say there's never a bad time to buy, I really like that. You've said that to me for as long as we've been buddies. But like, I'm just curious, Nick, where with the interest rates this low, obviously they're not like money's cheap, right? So that's a good thing. But what's going to happen when the interest rates go up? What's going to happen to the to the appreciation value of the houses that we have in our community? What's going to happen?
Well, the value is driven by what somebody's going to pay for it. So if you list a house for $800,000 and somebody pays $800,000, the house is worth $800,000. If you list the house for $800,000 and nobody bids on it, and then you decrease the price to $750,000, and then people want to pay $750,000, the house is worth $750,000. The market dictates the value of your house, which is dictated by what somebody's going to pay for it. So when interest rates go up, that is going to slow buying. That is going to, although there's like qualifying rates and different things that kind of stress tests that take all this into account, people get scared when interest rates start to climb. That'll slow buying. That will kind of, make people a little more tentative before they make a purchase. You'll start to see conditions back in offers. And that's going to slow the market a little bit. So interest rates go up, the market's going to slow a little bit. I don't think values are going to plummet. They might, like realtors' favorite saying, I don't have a crystal ball, which I hate, but it's you don't know, but you can predict. And so long as you hedge yourself with that prediction on what the market's going to do, I mean, you're good to go. So you pay a little bit extra, whatever. Can you pay for it? Can you afford it? Yes, the bank doesn't want your house. The bank doesn't want to take your investment properties. They're not in the real estate game in terms of owning a whole shit ton of your real estate. So you just got to know how to manage it, and you really need to keep your eye on what the market is doing. Interest rates are going to go up. They're going to go up slowly. They're not going to go up all of a sudden, because that would devastate a lot of people who probably got into the mortgage game, and maybe their finances are pretty tight, or maybe they stretched themselves a little thin. So you'll see it creep up gradually, and the market will slow a little bit, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I also think though, like you said, you talked about, houses. I mean, I don't see them plummeting, but yeah, it may dip, it may not. But just with the sheer the sheer minds, or the sheer act of inflation, if you hold on to it, I think you made a good analogy. Actually, maybe you should talk to us about that. Where the stock market, right? You have that poster in your one of your offices, but it's like it may go down and up, but at the end of the day, it's way different than what it was 20 years ago. Can I explain a little bit about that, Nick? So that just gives people some peace of mind as to like, ooh, I just bought a income property. Am I going to take a haircut on this? Well, it might go down a little bit, but the reality of it is that, you can remortgage your home in 5 years. You already put 20%, most likely probably put 20% down. You remortgage it. You're going to get, you could probably pull another 20, 30,000 out of it. And then you've got some tax-free dollars, right? Maybe you're not getting 100,000 out of it, but a $20,000 to $30,000 return on an investment you made 3 or 4 years ago, you're not getting that anywhere, man. And that's a return rate that everybody likes.
There's a reason why the bank wants you to put 20% down on a house, and that's because they're hedging themselves for a decrease in value of 20%. So if the real estate market goes down 20%, their investment's covered because they've only got 80% loan to value. There's a reason why these things are done and these rules are in place. But a mentor of mine gave me a chart from the stock market. And I can't remember if it was like the S&P 500 or the NASDAQ or whatever the hell it was. But anyways, he gave it to me and he's like, I want you to hang this in your office. And I asked him exactly that question. How do I know when's the right time? Blah, blah, blah. All these questions that somebody who's maybe a novice investor might have. So he gave me this chart and he said, hang it up in your office and I want you to look at it. So as we were looking at the chart, he cut it off between I can't remember. It was like 2007 and 2010. And it was coming down, right? And he's like, so if you just look at this section of the chart, does it look like it's a good time to invest? And this was probably right around, when it was going down, when we were having this conversation. And I thought in my head, well, not really. So then he took his hand that was at the 2007 and he moved it back further, and he maybe moved it back to 2000. And he's like, the chart levels out a little bit. And he's like, okay, how about this? Do you have the same opinion? I was like, well, it doesn't really look as bad there. Then he moved his hand again back to 1995. Then he moved his hand back to 1990, back to 85. And overall, if you took the point from 1985 to the point as of today, which was then, it had gone up. And the moral of the story and what he taught me that day was investments are long-term and they're meant to be long-term. Unless you're some type of a day trader that's all you do and that's what you specialize in. Investments are a long-term thing. You buy and you expect to hold. Sometimes you sell them for different reasons, but most times you buy to hold. And that chart is a perfect example of there's never the right time when you feel like it's the right time to buy. But ultimately, over time, things appreciate and things go up, and it's proven. History, it's proven.
Yeah.
This is the same thing happens. The same thing happens. Everything is cyclical, and once you can wrap your head around that, that kind of disassociates the type of risk with the decision today, and it makes it easier to make decisions regarding investments.
Yeah, no, you're 100% right on that, Nick. And I think the reality is a lot of people, they get scared, right? They're like, well, I got to pay this certain. So what? If you got to pay a couple $100 a month, like I ideally, yes, you'd like to have everything, paid, whatever. But you go to Toronto, there are lots of people that pay $400 or $500 a month on their houses, and they have people in it, right? But they still. So that's why markets in smaller towns are never a bad thing, especially towns that have like good business colleges, universities, things like that in it. And the reality is I think that if you, like you said, if you just look at it over a long period of time, and like we talked about, is like you will have the most effect when it comes to your real estate, when it comes to buying and holding. You and I both kind of subscribe to that model. Fast money is sometimes better than slow money. I get that. You only liquidize unless you're looking to buy something else. I mean, you've talked about liquidizing some singles and double and duplexes because you're going bigger. Well, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. But the reality of it is the longer you can hold, the better it is. And the more freedom that you have to, take money out of that, buy more assets, fix your home up, do things like that you want to do, put your kids through college, university, things, whatever. So no, I think that's a really good insight. Buy and hold, never a bad time to buy.
Fast money goes fast.
Sure it does. Next question here. Tips for finding good people to work with, specifically in banking and a mortgage broker.
Love this question. So,
well, before you go into that, I'm going to say thank you for not asking us about realtors. Okay, so that's the first one. And I know you got some good tips for that, but there are some amazingly good realtors out there. I'm not before everybody starts puking all over us about how realtors are important. There are also some ones that are like, you know what? They need to kind of slow their roll a little bit, right? Because they just think that this is going to be a booming market for the rest of their existence and everything's on fire. And they're a little bit much to be around. So I don't want to be a controversial. Usually you're the one that way, but thank you for not asking us about realtors. Banking and mortgage brokers. Go ahead.
So again, it's very similar. It's very similar to my opinion on real estate agents because, like I say, there's ones who are fucking amazing. And I talk about them. I work with them. My name is next to a sign with one I work with. I'm vocal about good ones, but I'm equally as vocal about shitty ones because there's way more shitty ones than there are good ones. And it's maybe not that they don't want to do a good job, because I'm sure they want to. They don't know. They don't understand. They don't live and breathe if you're not full-time in living and breathing it, get the fuck out of here. Because you want somebody who eats, sleeps, and breathes real estate. Same with fucking mortgage. Same with banking. So I have some amazing people I deal with at different banks. And it's taken me years and years and years to find these people. I think I'm finally there. And these are people who really, truly understand the industry and really, truly care about me and their customers. Kudos to you. Mortgage broker, probably one of the most important people you're going to work and align yourself with. Mortgage brokers have the ability to reach out to different types of lenders. So they can reach out to your A lenders, your TD banks, Scotias, BMOs, Royals, CIBCs. They can talk to these people and set up a deal for you. Now, if you're not going to qualify for a mortgage at the big five because of whatever, bad credit, or maybe something happened or whatever, they have B, C lenders, they have private lenders. So they're able to take your deal and shop it out to somebody who's a little more risk adverse. So somebody who's going to look at your entire picture and say, okay, well, maybe Nick has bad credit, but he's never missed a payment. He makes really good money. And, this is a good investment. So taking all those things into account, we're going to give them the mortgage. The interest rate's a little higher because the risk's a little higher, but we're going to take the chance. So a good mortgage broker is friggin' key to somebody who wants to A, buy a house, and B, invest. If you're going to invest, you need to align yourself with somebody who you will use and who is going to go to bat for you. Because oftentimes, okay, and I'm not saying this about anybody in particular I know, although I do know motherfuckers who do this, there's a lot of collusion in the corporate world. And you'll see people are, you get Johnny mortgage broker who will work with B lender Joe. And he'll give Joe deals because him and Joe have beers on the fucking weekend and they like to talk shit about other people. And they watch football together and think that they fucking solve all the world's problems. Well, Johnny feeds business over to Joe and Joe gets a commission on it. Those people are poison to the industry. Okay? And there's a lot of that goes on. And then if Johnny can't get you a mortgage with Joe because you don't qualify with Joe, he doesn't give a fuck. He's not going to shop it to private lender. He's not going to shop it to the A. He's not going to shop it to anybody because him and Joe like to fucking be each other's wives on the weekend. Okay? So align yourself with somebody who has the credentials to help you. Align yourself with somebody who is a good person. Okay? Only do business with good people, period. Be a good person, but only do business with good people who have the best intentions for themselves and you. Find those people because they will make the fucking difference when it comes to your investing and, your business.
Yeah, no, that's a great insight. And I like how you wrap that up. Is it comes down to relationships, right? Good people. If you trust them and you do that. I know you know some good bankers and some good mortgage people. I know I do know some great mortgage people as well. And it's just it's who you feel comfortable with. That's the big thing. And have a conversation with them. If they want your business and they'll put in the time. It was interesting. I was talking to a realtor and I did a deal, in October. And she wanted me to sign the papers to say that she's going to be my realtor for all of the Bay of Quinte region. And I wouldn't sign it. And she came back to me as a realtor. She's like, well, but understand that if you don't sign it, like all my attention is going to go towards the people that are my clients all the time. And I said, I understand that, but understand this, I'm actually giving you a deal here. Like I have a house that I want to buy and I want you to broker it. So why don't we focus on this deal? And if it works out, then we'll maybe work on another one together. But it's a one-time contract between you and I to make sure that I'm doing my part and you're doing your part. And I think that keeps them accountable, but it also keeps the buyer accountable, right? Because for me, in my mind, it was like, you can have 1,400 people or 14 people in the Bay of Quinte region, but if none of them are buying, then what do you really have? You're not making money on people that you've signed up. You're making money on commission. So if you have one buyer, in this case, myself, who actually was hungry to buy a house and did buy it with her, who cares if I'm going to go with the next deal with you? I gave you this deal. This is the deal we're working on. That's money in the bank for you, right? And so the reason I say that is because I think people take for granted relationships.
Yeah.
Right? They really do. And in this case, this person, I feel did. And I probably, maybe she's listening, maybe not, but I probably won't work with her moving forward. Maybe I will, but I'm trending towards probably not because the relationship wasn't there. You know what I mean?
That's what lazy people do. That's a lazy realtor because she wants to lock you in to having to do deals with her.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. And there's situations when you do need to sign these representation agreements, but make sure you fucking review it very well because you don't want to be locked into working with somebody who doesn't have your best interests in mind.
Well, you have to sign it. I get that, but it doesn't have to be like you said. It doesn't have to be locked in every single time I go to buy in this region. Is my point. I'll sign it. I sign it every single time. Yeah, absolutely. I know. I recognize that, and I know you do. But it's on a person like a case by case basis.
Yeah, deal specific.
We hold a lot more cards than, and I think that's what we need people to understand is that you hold a lot more cards than a lot of the industry professionals allow you to believe. Good people will be okay. We'll really walk you through and help you with the process. Next question. How can I repair bad credit? think we've talked about something like similar to this before, Nick.
Yeah, pay off debt. Huge.
Yeah.
Pay off your debt as quick as you can. Okay. It doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. So look at what's your highest interest credit cards. Number one, how can I repair bad debt? Do not listen to Dave Ramsey. Dave Ramsey, I'm talking to you. Answer us. So pay off your credit cards, okay? Start with the highest interest. Pay it down, okay? You got to be aggressive. It's hard. It's hard work, just like anything, just like business, just like life, just like playing sports, working out. It's hard work. Anything worth doing is hard, okay? But trust me, it'll be worth it. So pay off your credit cards. Keep making the minimum payments. Do not fucking miss a payment. Whatever you do not miss a payment. Be transparent with the banks. If you're struggling, call somebody at the bank. Say, look, this is my plan. Here's how much I'm paying towards this. It's higher interest than the line of credit I have with you. But my intention is to get you paid down. I just want to pay this down first. This is how much I'm paying. And they appreciate that. They'll make a note. They'll file it. And then they understand that you're working towards that. As long as you don't miss a payment, you're good to go. Okay? Don't spend stupidly. Okay? So don't go out and have beers with the boys and be the fucking big wheel who's buying drinks for everybody because I'm drunk. No, don't do that. Okay? Don't go out and spend a whole shit ton on groceries that you don't need. Just buy what you do need. Eat at home. Cook your own fucking meals. Make your own lunch. Okay, these are small things. They seem like small things. They seem like no-brainers, but they're not. There's a lineup at fucking Tim Hortons every morning. Right? How many of those people have bad credit? Who knows? But they don't give a flying fuck. They're getting their coffee one way or the other. Need my coffee. Do you? Well, I need a lot of things too, but I went without. Okay? Then when it starts to get better, that's when you fucking deploy that same capital that you were paying your debt off towards something else like a rental property. So you were using it, and then you get used to this lifestyle, and then you fucking start investing it. And that's when you start to win. And in the meantime, okay, you're trying to increase what you make. So maybe you're not an entrepreneur and you just want to work for somebody else, and that's awesome. But work your ass off. Get a raise. Ask for a raise. Look for another job if you need to, or if you want to, or, work your way up the ladder. Make more money. Do a side. Like, I'm not a huge side hustle guy. Everybody knows that. I'm not a big fan, but maybe you're really good at something on the side and you can make some extra money. That's great. Then do that. Okay? Work towards starting that business. Don't stop. Okay? You got to be so fucking focused. I had a conversation with my mentor, and this was yesterday. It was 2 days ago. And I'm like, what is the best advice you can give to me? And he said, stay focused. You need to be laser focused if you are going to get huge in business. Laser focused. And I mean, that's what I try to do.
I lost you there. Talking about side hustles. Go back to that.
I mean, everybody knows I'm not a huge side hustle guy. So if you are good at side hustles and you are able to make more money doing that, then do it. Try to make more money. Try to do things that are going to create more revenue in your life. So when you're repairing this bad credit, try to create more streams of revenue to you. Increase the money you're making, decrease the debt, deploy in investments.
Like it. I read somewhere there's 86,400 seconds in the day. The most successful people in the world use them to their advantage.
Yeah.
So, if you have bad debt or you're trying to repair your credit, maybe the question that you need to ask yourself when you're having, as you put it, beers with the boys or your friends or whatever it is, what can I be doing right now that is going to that could be helping me repair this bad credit, right? And the answer to that is not putting chicken wings and beer on your credit card. That's for sure. And if you're paying for it cash and you need to have a little break, I get it. We're all for balance and such, but symmetry and such. But the reality is, if side hustle. Sometimes you have to do the job you have to do in order to get to where you want to be, you know?
Showing up to fucking work 7 days a week is not number one for me. Let me tell you.
Exactly.
It's not like, woohoo, I'm going to fucking work. No.
Yeah.
Like, do I love what I do? Of course I do. But there's a lot of fucking time that I've put in that has been very fucking hard. But I show up all the time because I know my why.
Yeah. Love that.
And I fucking show up and I do it. And that's why I'm successful. Just thought of a good idea for the fucking rant time too, by the way. You're going to love it.
All right. Well, that's a nice little segue. We're going to go to the rant time. It's now rant time. All right. So I've got an idea. So what is your idea? I've got 2 questions here for you, but let's go with what you want to do. We can go from there.
I'm just going to say it's nothing to do with what I just was talking about.
Okay.
And also, that graphic is fucking amazing.
Ash Bear, man. Kid knows what she's doing.
We need to understand this, okay? Everybody listen up. And I'm talking to you people in your 20s and 30s. I'm in my 30s, but I'm speaking to you. Listen. Everybody thinks they're so fucking valuable. Everybody thinks, oh, well, I'm worth this so much money and I should be making this and I should be making this. Rewind this fucking episode. The market dictates value. The market dictates what you're worth. What somebody will pay you is what you're worth. If you think you're worth more and you're not getting it, then you ain't worth more, motherfucker. You need to make yourself more valuable to realize that gain in salary, or go start a business and do it yourself. Be an entrepreneur. Create that value. Okay? But you see this all too often. And more and more and more, mind you, I see it. Well, I'm worth so much. And I'm not talking about self-worth or inner value. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you are exchanging your skills and abilities and knowledge for money. That's what I'm talking about with value. If you go in somewhere and thinking, well, I'm worth this poisonous mindset, by the way. I'm worth $30 an hour because I can fucking frame and do flooring, and these guys, they make 25 and they can only do fucking doors and take cigarette breaks. Well, okay, but your boss is only going to pay you $25. So you're only worth $25. Okay? If you're worth 30, somebody else will pay you $30. Okay? But if nobody pays you $30, you ain't worth the 30. So if you have that mindset, you need to fucking lose it, because you will never succeed. Ever. Because you're always going to think people owe you something. Somebody owes you money. Somebody owes you a fucking life that you don't have, because you're worth, well, I'm worth all this fucking money. Well, where is it then? Because it's not in your fucking bank account. I can tell you that. It's not in your wife's bank account. It's not in the RESPs you have for your kids. You lazy fuck. Maybe you should work on weekends. Think about that.
So, Nick, that's a really interesting question, man. Or really, it's a great topic. It's about making you, if you want to make more money, be of more value, really. You know what I mean? Like you just said. So, rant question number 2 is, what does it mean to be the underdog?
The underdog. The underdog is somebody who's starting from scratch. Okay, you're somebody who's starting from scratch, or maybe you're starting from behind and everything's against you. and you succeed despite that. You succeed despite all this bullshit that's surrounding you. You were the underdog and you still fucking succeeded. And those are the entrepreneurs and the people in business or just anybody in life who I've got your back. The underdogs in life are the people who I will fucking go to bat for 1,000 times a day if I have to, because they don't give up. If you're an underdog, you don't give up. Oh, somebody told you can't do something? Fuck you. Thank you very much. But I'm going to do it anyways because I know it's going to be successful. You do not take no for an answer on something that you firmly believe is something you need to do. Okay? And when you have that mentality, nothing stops you. I'm not talking about being bullheaded. Don't be a bullheaded fucking idiot who just dives into things and I'm going to do this because I think it's a good idea. And actually the idea sucks because I've done no research on it. I haven't talked to anybody, but I just think it's a good idea because I saw it on Instagram. No, that's not being the underdog, and that's not persevering. That's being an idiot. Being the underdog is somebody who does the research and succeeds on an idea that is a good idea despite any type of restrictions that may be placed upon you.
What are 2 ways that an underdog can succeed then?
Number one, you need to be relentless. So you can succeed by being relentless, not letting anything stop you. Okay, so you need to be persistent again, and you need to go after the things that you believe in and the things that you believe are going to work. If you think that being in starting a meat shop is going to work, then you start a meat shop and you make it work. Okay. My dad said to me, and just on that, my dad said to me, because I'm like, what if this never worked? Like, and this was years back, and it was just like we were starting to gain traction. I'm like, what the fuck if this never worked? Because like our overhead, like we need to do so much money just to pay the bills. It's crazy, right? And the taxes and all that stuff. And I'm like, what if it didn't work? And he said, we would make it work. And I'm like, yeah, okay. That makes total sense. And that's how an underdog can make it work, by making it work. You make it work. Maybe it means you don't have 5 or 10 employees or 20 or 30 employees and you don't have a fucking assistant or a secretary or somebody to answer the phone or a cleaning crew or whatever. Maybe you don't have that stuff. Maybe it's just you in a 500 square foot office 7 days a week for the first 5 years. Maybe that's it. But you make it fucking work because you have to. And those are the fucking stories that I love. And those are the most successful entrepreneurs because they know how hard it is and they know them struggle. And they know that, yes, it's unhealthy at the start to work this much and it's hard. But ultimately, you do what you have to do. You don't blame anybody else. So quit blaming fucking Uncle Joe for taking the inheritance from your parents. And it should have been yours. And you live like a skid the rest of your life because Uncle Joe got the 500 grand. Go make fucking 500 million. And tell Uncle Joe to fuck off.
I'm Nick Foley. He's Nick Gilmour. This Cash Rules.